Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhaled frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, you know, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great.
Just like cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
Hey! Welcome back, everybody. 4:02 in the time zone here, Pacific time zone. Wiz Calico's still here, but just for a moment. He's going to be heading out here pretty soon. But Calico, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me over, man. It's been way too long since I've been here at the studio.
Yeah. It's good to have Calico in studio because that way there's somebody here further to the left than me.
It's tough to do.
It can burnish my conservative credentials.
Although I got to tell you, having at least experienced some of the trials and tribulations of a small business owner over the last year, yeah. I've tacked a little farther to the right.
A little bit.
At least at least in my ability to argue conservative viewpoints, I understand them more now.
I get you. Like me dealing with these open records requests, which, by the way, we got another $100 donation today. We're already over 2,000.
Good work, people.
Still
Good
got
work.
Donations coming in. People apparently want to hold these guys accountable. And here's the thing, folks, is they're shifting their money and all of the things that they've been saying about this and their promotions. They took down their prevention website, right? So they're trying to cover their tracks for 2014. And I believe we can prove that they used some 2014 money to start this thing. But that's not what's going to hang them. What's going to hang them is 2012. 2012, we got more than enough evidence already of that this was a blatant political event.
They had the Protect Our Society billboards coming out during the 2012 election. That was looked like some money was being funneled through the Oregon Sheriff's Association.
Yeah,
I remember some unwieldy things going on back then.
That's right. We're going to do all that. Remember the meth girl billboard?
I do. I remember the press conference that we held for that.
Oh my God! So all of that's coming up. I've filled out some open records requests, and I got to take. See, here's the thing. Talking about government, right? Like, I used to work for the Idaho State Department of Health and Welfare in the mid-90s, so I kind of know, right? Like, government is where people get jobs, they kind of barnacle onto them.
It's the bureaucratic lifestyle.
Oh yeah, and it is the worst thing ever, except for the alternatives. Right? Okay, you want tyranny? Right? We can have tyranny. We can have strongman and have a real efficient government.
Well, it's just like everyone who says, like, private industry does things more efficiently and better. But it's like, yeah, but who are they accountable to?
Exactly. I can vote for guys in Congress. I can't vote for CEOs.
Yeah.
So... But yeah, I worked in state government, so I'm not completely Pollyanna or naive on this, but I got, I emailed out my requests, and most of these counties have responded. Their DAs have sent me these letters back, nice official things, real quick. Because there's all these statutory rules about timelines and when you have to hit things, right, and deadlines and all that. But Marion County, now, isn't Marion County where Salem is?
That's absolutely where the capital is.
Okay, so the state capital, the county where the state capital is located, Marion County, I get on their website looking for the county clerk's office, right? I figure if you're going to do a records request, a clerk would have records. So
that's a good place to start.
I'm just figuring that's what you do. So I go to the clerk's office, right? I find finally like an email address after dig, and I finally find an email address. I emailed to this guy, hey, here's a request. This guy emails me back and says, oh, this is like land records. You probably need like the DA's office or something. And so he gave me the numbers to the DA and to the court clerk or something. Mm-hmm. And so I emailed him back. I'm like, do these people have email addresses? Do they have, electronic contact? And he emails me back and says, no, maybe you could try calling those numbers. I'm like, well, gee, thanks to next to nothing. What, you guys don't have like a phone tree, a list? You couldn't help me out a little better. All right, so I finally get to looking, and sure enough, no, there's no email. I mean, like the DA has an email address, but it's not
listed.
It's not listed. I had to go find it from other sources. So I emailed him, right? And that's already bad enough as it is. I got to email the guy whose records I'm trying to get, right? Gee, Mr. Fox, hen house, all that. But anyway, I do the records request, and it turns out they mail me back and say that we need this in paper format, right? So I had to go bike all the way to Hawthorne, 4 miles, to go get some ink cartridges because my printer was out of ink, so I could print things out so I could snail mail the county where the capital's located in order to conduct public business. So that sucked.
That's your 21st century government right there.
Yeah, did not like that at all. Another county, I think this was Crook County, responded to me by sending me a PDF to fill out, right, a form. Mm-hmm. They have a specific form for a records request, which, by the way, under the law, it doesn't matter how I make my request. I could write it in crayon on a shovel, and if I turn it in, it's a legal request, right?
Oh, okay.
But, all right, so I'll play your game. They give me the form, but it's not digitized. You'd have to print the damn form and write it out and mail it back. I'm like, screw that. I loaded up into Adobe Acrobat and I digitized the fucker. I put all the fields in there and I mailed back to them the filled out forms and the digitized template saying, hey, here's an idea. Why don't you post this on your website and give this to people so they can fill it out and mail it back to you?
Wow, I bet you blew some minds that day.
Yeah. That's me, man. I'm looking for efficient, responsive government.
Crook County. What an interesting name.
Crook County. That's where the dirtball's from, by the way.
No crooks out there.
No crooks in Crook County. Crook County killers, baby. All right, we got to take a break here.
All right, sure. Why not?
We got to take a break. I guess we come back. We've got Noah Stokes from Cannaguard Security at the International Cannabis Business Conference.
Don't touch that dial. We're right back to Radical Russ in just a few minutes. Hey, does anybody really have a dial anymore? You're listening to the Russ Belville Show.
And again, big thanks to Wiz Calico for stopping in at Wiz Calico, and check out CalicoVision.com, K-A-L-I-K-O Vision.com. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for dabbing me out.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
And we'll see you later.
All right.
.420 Radio, fighting prohibition since 2012.
Mike Schwab is a former middle school science and math teacher. Currently, he works with children daily as an after-school program leader.
Currently, kids have easy access to marijuana with little understanding of its impact. We can take better care of our kids through Measure 91 with strict regulations and funding for proven marijuana education and prevention programs to keep kids from using it. Under our current marijuana laws, one mistake can ruin a life. Measure 91 removes unfairly harsh punishment for marijuana offenses and gets more tax money to local police and drug prevention. Vote yes on 91.
420radio.org is proud to replay Cannabis Cure TV with Greg DeHote from Sussex, England. Greg, Cannabis Cure DeHote, gained extensive experience in California, Oregon, Washington, and Colorado medical marijuana and brings his expertise back to educate Europeans on ending cannabis prohibition. Catch the replays Thursday at 12 Pacific on 420.
Hi, I'm Richard Harris. I'm the former director of addictions and mental health for the state of Oregon. Drug treatment and prevention are woefully underfunded right now. Measure 91 will better fund drug treatment and prevention programs. Marijuana isn't going anywhere. We're not stopping it with the war on drugs. You have to remember that marijuana is a pretty benign drug. It doesn't have the usual dependency features of, say, heroin or alcohol abuse. Now, marijuana feeds drug cartels and fuels violence. We can crack down on that. Take the money from drug cartels and, by the law, spend it on law enforcement, treatment, and education. Criminalizing marijuana is just no way to solve the problem. That's why treatment people like me are supporting Measure 91.
I
That's Easy Star All Stars getting high with a little help from their friends. Russ Belville here, Radical Russ, at the International Cannabis Business Conference, Day 2. A beautiful Sunday here in Portland, Oregon at the Oregon Convention Center. And joining me here at the desk, we got Noah Stokes from Cannaguard Security. Noah, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
So Cannaguard Security, this is something that's been talked about a lot, the security aspects of the marijuana industry, since a lot of these guys are doing business in cash. We're talking about a product that is still contraband. Tell folks what you're offering with Cannaguard.
Absolutely. No, there's definitely the need for security in a lot of different reasons, especially in a cash business. I don't need much explanation there. And what we're seeing in these states as they're going legal and medicinal for the retail use is the states are requiring a certain level of security to be compliant for these businesses to open.
Like a certain number of pixels on the camera.
Number of pixels, camera locations, things like that. But that doesn't mean that these places are actually secure and hard to break into.
Okay, so just following the minimums of what the state tells you to do is a good start, but you're not covering all the bases.
Right, absolutely. It's an unfortunate thing that people think, well, the state requirements will protect me and keep me secure as well as compliant, and it's very different. So our slogan is beyond compliance, and so we're not worried about getting you compliant. That's easy, but actually protecting you from the criminals out there today. They're quite sophisticated with the internet and YouTube and everything they can do. You get a more educated criminal. There's no criminal school out there, but the internet is just about the equivalent.
And that's a good point, because I think a lot of people, when they think security for this, like I did, I said, cash only, and you start thinking armored trucks and armed guards. But hell, internet security is something we really need to look at.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just protecting your data and your information. Most businesses, the biggest theft is actual information, clients' information, employees' information. But in this business, it's still the product and the cash that's sitting somewhere, that's not in a bank, that's sitting inside a facility. And unfortunately, they're protecting themselves with alarm systems that were outdated 10 years ago. Yeah. That you landline base, you cut the phone line, and you're in. Right. Nobody knows. And then they go and they find where all the wires go from your cameras, where your DVR is. It's recording them stealing this from you, and they steal that as well.
Right.
And so you come in the next day knowing nothing, and everything's gone, and you have nothing. And you say, well, shoot, I had the security system that I thought was going to protect me, and really it just provided a false sense of security. So we come at it from a technology standpoint, using new technology and modern technology to stay 3 or 4 steps ahead of these guys.
Yeah. I know even in all sorts of businesses, not only is there a security threat externally, but there can also be a security threat internally with your employees. Do you do things like background checking and those sorts of situations?
Yeah, so we partner with people that do the more HR and internal and investigations and consultancy and advisory and design on the people and the personnel. And then we partner with them to be able to provide them the support that they would need in case to monitor internal theft. Because it comes down to someone, if you have a pile of $500,000 in cash and you have product that doesn't exactly have barcodes on it, you take the best people in the world and you turn them into people that make bad decisions sometimes. And so if they have a key to your facility and the proper alarm code, and they know your facility and when people will be there and when they won't, it provides them opportunity that you don't necessarily want to put them at risk for making a bad decision. And so our technology logs everything that happens, even the proper disarm code by the proper person, and has notifications that send out. The system was disarmed at 2 a.m. by the proper disarm code. Well, I want notifications sent out to not only me as the owner, but to my guard and my patrol service, so that they can pull up the cameras from their iPad or from their office and look to see if it's a bunch of guy with hoods and AK-47s, or is it Susie picking up her purse, after a night out, and so they can assess that threat and know what they're getting themselves into prior to getting out there. With that technology in place, people make less bad decisions when your employees know that you get a notification and a timestamp and redundancy and cloud storage, and they're not getting away with anything.
Yeah.
And if they're going to make a bad decision, they do it someplace else.
Well, all right. We're speaking with Noah Stokes. He's with Cannaguard Security. And I'm wondering, in working with the cannabis industry, is there any sort of security things you're having to offer that you wouldn't normally offer some other business?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the cool things that we do is called security fog.
Oh, I've seen this.
Yeah,
Tell
it's
folks
awesome.
about that. I've been in one of those, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. No, it's more widely used in Europe and for pharmacies and gun stores and jewelry stores where it's a smash and grab scenario. And what it does is if someone technically has a mask on and they take the plates off their vehicle and they crash their vehicle through the front of your store, they can be in and out in just a few minutes, and realistically the cameras aren't going to get much other than, yes, it was a vehicle smashing into my place, stealing everything.
Look, there he is.
Yep, it's gone. And they have a few minutes and people know this. And so in those kind of instances, we deploy something called security fog. And what it does is when the alarm is triggered, or it can be even hooked up to a panic button, so if there's people there in a hold-up situation, they press this button, and super condensed fog shoots out of a machine, and it creates fog so thick that you can't even see the hand in front of your face. It has a light, a strobe that disorients you. It's flashing at 12 times a second.
Yeah.
And generally what happens, 99% of the time, is people see this smoke, fog, tear gas, whatever they think it is. They don't hang around a long time because not only can they not see anything to steal it, but half the time they can't see how to get back out.
Yeah.
And so it's a really easy, inexpensive, super effective way because there's no way to bypass it.
Right.
It takes 45 minutes to clear.
Yeah.
You can't do anything in that 45 minutes, and so they leave. And so whether it's a hold-up situation or a smash and grab situation, and they even make some with plant-based DNA. So if it gets on your skin or your clothes, it will never come out of your clothes.
Oh, my.
And it takes 3 weeks to get out of your skin. And so you take a swab of, somebody wearing a Packers jersey or something, or, Ducks jersey or Beavers jersey, and you swab their clothes because that was what was on the video.
Yeah.
And you take it, and that was your specific strain
Yeah.
of plant-based DNA from your facility.
Like CSI would do the gunpowder residue for somebody or something like that.
Exactly. So there's some really cool technology that's not necessarily new, just not widely used because people don't know about it,
Yeah.
but extremely effective.
And I saw there was a demo booth of this at one of the Denver events, and I stepped into the booth, and it was just phenomenal.
Crazy.
Like, I almost fell over when the strobes came on.
Sure,
It was disorienting as hell.
Yeah.
But they also pointed out that, in a situation like what we're guarding, plants, you don't want to have something that's going to damage the plants. And so it's safe for them, too.
It's just vapor.
Yeah.
It's just fog. Yeah, absolutely. It's just
amazing
water.
stuff.
There's no residue, anything. So, you can put them, whether it's in the grow or in the safe or the quarantine or wherever it is, you can deploy these. So.
Yeah, it's really cool. Noah, tell folks how they can get in touch with Cannaguard and Cannaguard security on the web. And
absolutely. If you go to our website, cannaguardsecurity.com, it's CANNA, guardsecurity.com, really easy to find us. That's the easiest way. It's got our phone number. You can submit floor plans and requests for quotes, and somebody will get in touch with you and kind of start the process of getting you the education you need.
That's excellent. Thank you so much, Noah, for stopping by, and have yourself a great conference.
Thank you. You too.
All right, let's go back to some music here at the International Cannabis Business Conference. It's the Tall Brothers with Simply Business.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business. You know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
Big thanks to Noah Stokes from Cannaguard Security at the International Cannabis Business Conference. I gotta say, in the words of Andrew Sullivan, the conservative pundit who gave the keynote opening address, best conference ever. That's what Andrew said. But I gotta temper that a little bit because Andrew's conferences may not be as fun and exciting as our conferences. I got a chance to ask him a question in the Q&A. I made the point that, there are parallels between the LGBT movement and marijuana legalization. However, at the workplace, there is no test of urine that will determine if someone's gay. And you can't get arrested driving while fabulous. So there are some differences. And he pointed out that yes, but before the laws recently changed, homosexual behavior was criminalized. Men were being arrested in their own bedrooms and such. But I don't know. I think there are parallels. There are differences. Every movement has its, good and bad to it. So we don't have to be the same. It's all just equality we're fighting for. The differences are irrelevant. Hey, what do you know?
Hey, this is great, man.
That's right, Tommy Chong is competing on Dancing with the Stars, people. That's how far we've come. It's 4:20 here in beautiful Potland, Oregon. We'll see whether or not Tommy managed to stay on. The story I was reading say they ban him from wearing any pot leaves on his costume or clothing. But he did roll out with Cheech in a smoky car, so I'll take that. We'll be back right after this with Representative Earl Blumenauer from the International Cannabis Business Conference.
420 Radio, your ticket to the Boston Freedom Rally. The Marijuana Business Association, or MJBA, are proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show. It is the mission of the MJBA to establish integrity and legitimacy, create common market standards, provide market intelligence, and develop best ethical business practices for participants in the emerging legal marijuana industry, including commercial hemp, medical marijuana, and recreational marijuana for adults. Learn more about the Marijuana Business Association and visit mjba.net to join today.
I don't use marijuana, but as a teacher of 36 years, I can tell you lots of other people use it. I don't believe in prohibition. I don't think it works. Prohibiting it hasn't stopped anybody from getting a hold of it. I would like to see it regulated so that maybe kids can't get a hold of it so easily. I know they get a hold of it now very easily. I support a new approach to marijuana. I support legalizing it. It's with us. It's not going to go away. And if we can get money through the taxation, we can also educate our kids about it. That's why I support it.
NORMAL stands for Responsible Adult Cannabis Use. If cannabis use is causing problems in your life, consider taking a break or seeking medical assistance. Consider ceasing cannabis use if you have a family history of mental illness. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery while impaired by cannabis use. Cannabis use is not without risks, even though the risks may be far less than those posed by legal drugs.
At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio. Are you a hypocrite? If you live a closeted cannabis lifestyle, you are. Read about 7 people living a closeted cannabis lifestyle who are on the verge of coming out in The Hypocrites by Mara K. Eaton. Available at areyouahypocrite.net. You can purchase the book on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, also available on iTunes. Check out Mara K. Eaton on Facebook as well. Learn more at areyouahypocrite.net.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Electric Tuesday, featuring the latest in electronic dance music and other cutting-edge genres. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tune.
All right, folks, we're going to roll with last week's tune. We got no Electric Bob for today, so this is Beach Club times Relic with Enlightenment. Representative Blumenauer up next.
420 Radio, freeing your mind 24 hours a day. The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, treat law enforcement with respect and stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney." Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com.
You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com and follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter.
420radio.org is proud to replay Green Stream Radio with Grandma Cat, Tim Me, and On One from Olympia, Washington. Green Stream is bringing you the latest developments in legalization in Washington state straight from the state capitol, plus on-site shows at emerging cannabis clubs and hemp fests. Catch the replays Tuesday at 11 Pacific.
Libertarian political thinkers of our day to one of the great progressive politicians of our day, Congressman Earl Blumenauer, another hero of mine. People here in Portland especially don't need much of an introduction for Congressman Blumenauer. He helped us decriminalize marijuana, the first state, all the way back in 1973. He has been a public servant for the people of Portland, Oregon, progressives, environmentalists, really all over the world, locally and now in the halls of Congress. There is nobody doing better work at the federal level than Congressman Earl Blumenauer. And one thing that he's been able to do is to amicably work with people across the aisle to really get great things done in a House of Representatives that it's hard to get great things done, if anything done. And he has been working on banking, tax reform, and when federal prohibition crumbles at the federal level, I have no doubt in my mind that we will have Earl Blumenauer to thank for that. So please welcome our next guest, Congressman Earl Blumenauer.
Thank you very much, Anthony, and thank you for your leadership and perseverance in this cause. It's true, I've been dealing with this for a long time, but as you know, this is an issue that has been with us a long time. Probably most of you don't have this October 31st, 1969 copy of Life magazine. Marijuana. At least 12 million Americans have tried it. Are the penalties too severe? Should we legalize it? I would note that this is the same issue of Life magazine that introduced the Big Mac, and it was so long ago that the picture of the Cookie Monster didn't give him a name. This is the time frame we've had where sadly we saw a misguided, misdirected, unfortunate, and destructive war on drugs unleashed on the American public. And it swooped up into it marijuana. Now, I was in the Oregon legislature 41 years ago when we decriminalized, the first state in the union to decriminalize marijuana. It was a fascinating dynamic. In fact, we had a bill, as some of you know, basically to allow 2 plants for personal consumption. And it was carried by a conservative pig farmer a Republican from Eastern Oregon who didn't smoke and didn't drink and was the most straight-laced person you've ever met, who just laid out the case. The prohibition on marijuana is stupid. It's less destructive than alcohol and tobacco, and we just ought to get on with life. Well, we're still trying to follow the admonition of my friend Stafford Hansel 41 years ago. Although I was told that if the 19 of us who voted for the bill had been joined by the people who voted no but smoked dope, Oregon would have been the first state to legalize adult use of marijuana. And in one sense, it's frustrating that it continues, that we're bumping along despite evidence and the momentum. But I will tell you that we are on a roll. After 41 years of dealing with this issue, I feel more confident than ever that we're in the home stretch. There are, as you know, 16 states, the District of Columbia, followed Oregon's lead with decriminalization. 17 states have removed barriers for hemp production. Talk about the stupidest prohibition known to humankind. We have had 23 states in the District of Columbia that have legalized medical marijuana because the people demanded it. It didn't start, I'm sad to say, with my fellow politicians who've been just, I think, not just too timid, but have failed to grasp the implications of the issue. But starting with that 1996 voter initiative in California, followed by one a couple years later in Oregon and other states, we've had a real tidal wave developed. 148 million people live in jurisdictions that permit medical access to marijuana. And Florida is poised this fall to add its ranks, and it will push us over half the population. We have now seen that 2 states have legalized adult use of marijuana. And it's a realization that now almost half the American population over 12 has tried it. This year, more than 10% of Americans will use it. And over 1 million people have legal access to medical marijuana. And we're starting to see the impact of this as a legitimate, thriving business with unlimited potential. You know, we're pushing, estimates vary, but we're closing in on $2 billion of legal marijuana activity around the country. And we're watching the tax revenues start to come in Colorado and in Washington State that make a difference for states that are cash-strapped for education, for drug treatment, for real law enforcement. I will tell you, the train has left the station. There's no turning back now. One of the reasons that I'm optimistic is because there is a compelling case that the biggest argument against legalization of marijuana, the fact that it gets in the hands of young people and messes up adolescent brains, nobody wants young people to smoke marijuana. But as a practical matter, responsible regulation, legalization, and taxing it is the best approach to help keep it out of the hands of kids. We are utterly failing them now. Nobody thinks a 13-year-old girl in my neighborhood has a tougher time getting a joint than buying a 6-pack of beer. None of those drug dealers is going to check for ID. They don't have a license to lose. You know this. And those people are very likely to try and sell something else with a little bit of a kick. The American public, I think, is starting to realize that it's better to legalize, regulate, and tax in prohibition and get on with life. In every forum, I use the example of what we've done with tobacco. Tobacco, which killed my father from lung cancer, smoked virtually till the day he took his last breath. But what have we done? Since I've been in high school, we have cut tobacco use by adults by 2/3. Did we lock people up? Although some of the lying tobacco executives may have been candidates for it. Yeah. Give me a break. No. We educated. We regulated. We dealt with the product. And we taxed the dickens out of it. And we're a healthier society because of that approach. The public broadly understands what was part of this story in Life magazine 45 years ago, that tobacco makes 1/3 of the people who use it dependent. It's more than heroin, which is almost 1/4. 17% of cocaine users. 15% of those of us who drink alcohol. Only 9% of marijuana users become dependent. Less damaging, less addictive, and the facts are getting out. So I've been spending a lot of time in Congress trying to help create a legislative framework to move forward. Some of you may be familiar with a little study I published a couple years ago with my friend Jared Polis when we launched this effort. We call it the Path Forward. We're having to update it all the time because of all the progress that is being made around the country. It's always out of date. And that's a good thing. I agreed with my friend Barney Frank, and I've always co-sponsored legislation and tried to be helpful, but I agreed when Barney left Congress along with Ron Paul that I would be willing to step up and do a little more in terms of an organizational effort. We created an informal working group of people who are involved with our matrix of bills dealing with marijuana. We have 15 bills on this matrix, and I have some extra copies in the back of the room or the front of the room. Emily Hebron from my office has them, that lists all of the bills, all 15 bills in Congress. We have, I'm proud to say, 79 members who've co-sponsored at least one of these. And I will say that there are a total of 25 Republicans who've joined as co-sponsors. 11 of the bills are bipartisan. And they run the range of what Jared and I did at the beginning of the session was a package to legalize and to tax. And those two bills, I think, will take the framework, and they're not going to pass this Congress, but it's where I think America is going, and I'm proud to have been there with Jared, putting them on the table. We've had legislation to protect medical marijuana from federal interference. The hemp has really been exciting how that has exploded. We have broad bipartisan support for the legislation, but if you've been keeping score In the last year, we have had 7 amendments on the floor of the House, 6 in favor of expanding marijuana reform. 5 of the 6 passed, and the one that was to limit failed. Now this is, I think, a very significant signal about what's happening with the congressional politics. We had a hemp amendment to the Farm Bill that passed 225 to 200, and we had 63 Republicans who joined us to permit research for hemp for states where it's already legal. And an expanded version of this bill was included in the final Farm Bill, which passed. I had legislation to the military, to the MILCON appropriations bill that came close to allow military doctors to talk to their patients about medical marijuana in those states where it's legal. Isn't it insane that our veterans, many of whom could benefit from some of their conditions from medical marijuana, and all of whom probably have questions about it for PTSD or chronic pain, are prohibited from talking about it to their primary care physician? They got to go off someplace else and pay for it on their own. I thought that was crazy. I still think it's crazy. But we got 22 Republicans to vote with us. And I think by the time is closing in, we will be able to get that enacted. We had an amendment, chief sponsored by my friend and colleague, Suzanne Bonamici, to allow farmers to grow industrial hemp in states, those 17 states where we've moved forward to make it legal. And that passed overwhelmingly with 66 Republicans. And so it goes. One of the things that I think is most significant was a Republican-sponsored medical marijuana amendment, which would have prohibited the federal government from spending federal funds to enforce marijuana laws in a way that would interfere with medical marijuana. This puppy passed with 49 Republicans joining us. This is earth-shattering as somebody who's been working on these in Congress for years. Finally, and getting to a point that that I want to elaborate on a little further, that some of you care deeply about, the insane federal policy that prohibits financial institutions from being able to deal with legitimate marijuana businesses for the ordinary financing transactions that every business takes for granted. That amendment passed 231 to 92 with 45 Republicans in favor. And I really... The significance of these amendments cannot be overestimated. Sending a signal to stop interfering with medical marijuana is a signal to the administration. The president's already said he has bigger fish to fry, but unfortunately we've got 93 U.S. attorneys who are still frying small fish, right? That signal from Congress to get off their backs and get with the program is critical. Having a majority in the House of Representatives that say it's insane to force a perfectly legitimate legal enterprise to be all cash. If we really care about money laundering and tax evasion, more about taxes in a minute, or theft, what is more idiotic than having a business in Colorado pay their marijuana tax with bags of $20 bills? Well, as you know, we've gotten a little guidance, not good enough for the banks, and I understand. It's a start. That amendment is a start. But what we need to do is take the amendment that passed and be able to enact it in law. And I think it's only near-fetched that that will happen this year. The other bill, and some of you have a modest interest in it, would deal with the 280E, prohibiting you from taking legitimate business deductions for a legitimate business and pay an effective tax rate that is 2 or 3 times what other enterprises are paying. It's not fair. It's stifling growth and development. It doesn't promote compliance with the tax law because it's so blatantly unfair. And we're in a country where we have 150 million taxpayers and we rely on voluntary compliance. And we're going to get more voluntary compliance when we eliminate this bill, this provision that was dropped in to provisions in late 1970s when some drug dealer tried to expense his yacht. And it was written too broadly, and you got caught up in the net. I was pleased when I introduced this legislation. I was joined by Grover Norquist, who's not really been at many of my press conferences. This Republican conservative icon, who agrees that it's insanity. And it's another strong, strong reason why we're moving in the right direction. So here's what I think is going to happen. I'm spending my spare time in Oregon campaigning for Measure 91, which will make Oregon the 3rd state to legalize adult use of marijuana. It's a tough campaign. It's not going to be easy. The other side is very glib, fast and loose with the facts, claiming credit for everything. I had a debate with one of the district attorneys yesterday, and it was quite an experience. But I think we can win. We're slightly ahead at the polls, and we have the stronger arguments. We've got the force of history on our side, and we've got some momentum from people who care. But it's going to require people who care to follow through. And I'm willing to do my part, and I hope everyone in this room who cares will do yours. There's another ballot measure in Alaska. Now, I don't pretend to understand Alaska politics. You know, I don't know if you read the New York Times today about the brawl that with the Palin family at somebody's birthday party, and that somebody said it ended up as a nice party and ended up like Jerry Springer's show. Yes, I don't pretend to understand, but I know it can pass there too. But if it passes in Oregon, I think we turn the corner. It's game over. This is the 3rd consecutive victory. We're poised for the state of California and others in 2016. And I think we're on our way. Number 1, we want to focus on delisting marijuana.
Yeah.
That'll solve lots of our problems. It can be done administratively, it can be done legislatively. I don't care how it happens, we need to do it. The victory in Oregon and the work that you're doing makes that much, much, much more likely. We need to pass these items of legislation. And I think the momentum is going to build with the help of people like you in this room to act like a powerful political movement. Delist, legislate. I'll be looking in this Congress if there is a tax bill that is moving back and forth between the House and Senate in the lame duck session to see if we can attach the 280E to it. It's outmoded, it's antiquated, it's unfair, and more people are recognizing it. And if we're successful in November, we get a little extra leverage. We get a little extra leverage. And we're going to continue to work both legislatively and administratively to straighten out the nonsense about your access to financial services. We're having incremental progress. More people are aware. Election victories in the fall. I think that is more likely. And I think there are things we can do with the administration. This administration is now all about legacy. President Obama will never run for anything again. He's going to be judged. I mean, part of it, and I appreciate part of what Mr. Sullivan said about the Obama administration. I was an earlier supporter of the president. They've done some things I like. There's some things that make me scratch my head. But, you know, I get my news from The Onion. And some of you remember the headline on The Onion, in The Onion, the day after the election in 2008, "Black man given worst job in America." The president is ahead of the people in his drug control office. He understands. And I think working with the administration, there's an opportunity for us to push the regulatory area that can be part of his legacy as well in winding down and redirecting this failed prohibition of marijuana. I'll just conclude by saying that you're, more than you realize, the frontline troops. Those of you who are involved with employing thousands of people around the country, those of you who are involved with hundreds of millions of dollars of economic activity, you're developing products that meet needs for Americans, and there are opportunities to refine the research, the product regulation, the safety, the applications from hemp to medical marijuana to recreational aspects. This is a tremendous opportunity that can capture the attention of Americans across the country. The extent to which you can do your jobs better, it adds to that momentum. As I say, we're in the home stretch. We've had some amazing success already this Congress. And there are things that we can do together to zero in on it. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you today to share some of my thoughts and observations. I look forward to working with you on the campaign trail, on the legislative trail, and in the court of public opinion, all of which I think we're on the winning side. Thank you very much.
That's my Congressman Earl Blumenauer speaking at the International Cannabis Business Conference on our new RB Show Live channel. You can find the new button on 420radio.org. Click on RB Live when I'm out and about, or as my Canadian friends say, oot and aboot. But you can check that out, and you'll find out the latest from where I'm at. If you follow at RB Show 420 on Twitter, you'll get the updates, and that's the channel that I use oftentimes when we are live on the road. It's great having Wiz Khalico in the studio, and during the off times, we got into a lot of discussions about the future of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio, and it looks like we may get Wiz Khalico back helping here. Some of the best times I ever had on this show were with Wiz Khalico on the mic and helping out here, so that would be very, very good. We are at the beginning of the green rush here in Portland, Oregon, and like Khalico said, there's no reason why this show shouldn't be rising with it. So thank you, longtime listeners, longtime supporters. It's only going up from here, and we are poised to explode, especially coming up this November 4th. Tuesday, November 4th, is going to be marijuana election night here on 420 Radio and the Russ Belville Show. I will have correspondents calling in live from all across the country, from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon, from the Great White North to the Sunshine State. We'll be also reporting from the Great Lakes and New Mexico. Michigan's got a lot of things on the ballot. 13 different municipal ballot initiatives, I believe, having to do with marijuana in one way or another, legalization or decriminalization. There's a couple of ballots in California, I believe, having to do with dispensaries. Albuquerque, New Mexico, voting on marijuana legalization. Of course, Alaska, Oregon, and Washington, D.C. voting on legalization. Although D.C.'s legalization is a little more like pre-2014 legalization. People will be able to grow and people will be able to possess, but they will not have pot shops. There will not be any commerce. So it's Washington, D.C.'s law is almost like decrim on steroids, right? You can grow, you can possess, but there'll be no commerce in it, which of course means there'll be commerce in it. It just won't be legal. Like now. Washington Post came out today with a op-ed piece on why D.C. residents should vote against even that limited form of legalization. And they got called out on it. A lot of reformers showing up there calling them out and pointing out that what I just said is that the experience in Colorado from December of 2012 up until the beginning of 2014 is really what D.C. will be experiencing. Colorado had just the ability of people to grow plants in their home and possess marijuana, but the pot shops weren't made legal until 2014. So D.C. residents, just look back to Denver in 2013. Remember all the riots and the carnage and the fires and terrible things that happened then? No? Oh yeah, that's because it didn't happen. Tourism's up, crime is down, fewer kids are using marijuana and they find it more risky. Those are just the facts, folks. That's all the time we got. Thanks for joining us. Coming up next, we've got Electric Bob's Boogaloo. Stick around for the music. And until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.